This is Dr. Charles Parker, and you're listening to Core Brain Journal. It's a place where I connect both fresh discoveries and interesting different perspectives from advanced mind science with the realities of real people and everyday life down on Main Street.
Well, welcome aboard, folks. Here we are one more time, Dr. Charles Parker, and we're at Core Brain Journal 060. And we have a phenomenal guest on, a guy that just breaks the boundaries of being a true professional, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And his name is John Lemme. And I started to say doctor. I don't even know. Are you a doctor, John?
That's interesting. My wife has got 16 degrees, and my goal is to get her to
share one, huh?
Take my doctorate for me. No, I'm not a doctor yet, but I've got a business degree,
John,
but not a doctor.
I'm sorry I said that because we do a lot of, and I apologize for, in a way, putting you on the spot like that because we do talk to a lot. But you sound like a person who has got multiple degrees, and so I just didn't want to mess up when I was talking to you about that. So John is a guy who is noteworthy in that he's worked with the best. He is a motivational expert in self-development. He takes you as a commonplace person and takes you to a place where you can use your mind, your imagination, your skills to take you a place where you'd really rather be. And he's coming from, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about this, John, from his background as get this, he was a stutterer as a kid. So one thing we do at Core Brain Journal is we like to talk about success stories. John, you are a success story. So welcome aboard, John. We really appreciate you coming on board here.
Well, thank you for investing your time in what you do by bringing stories and bringing success stories out to the world. And I believe that my goal today, you could be listening to this in the year 2016, 17, 18, 19, it could be 4 years from now, 5 years from now, because with the day and age of technology, with the podcast and with digital recordings, I believe that a life's going to change. And every time that I present, I've presented in 31 countries around the world. I've spoken 700 plus venues, authored 20 plus books. And interesting, my number one niche that I consult for is doctors. So I believe that's where the Dr. Blooper came from. And you go by Dr. Charles or Chuck, correct?
How do you like to be? John, to you, call me Chuck. We're brothers Chuck. From a different mother.
You're awesome, bro. Brother Chuck rocks. And I believe the individuals today that are listening to this, they're into development. They're into learning. And there's just two requirements that I always have when I get interviewed, and we're going to have a great time today. I want you guys to grab a pen that writes, and I want you to grab a piece of paper, and I want you to write down two dates. Date number one is the day you're born. Now, I was born November 5th, 1965. As you hear from my accent immediately, I live in West Palm Beach, Florida now, but I was not born and raised there. I was raised, obviously, where do you believe I'm from, Chuck?
Yonkers,
New York, baby. I got the New York accent. And I was born and raised, and the atmosphere, everyone, my brother, my dad, my mom and dad. My dad's 86, my mom's 84. I'm blessed to have them alive and healthy, and they live here in Boca Raton, Florida. We see them all the time, and I sound just like them. And in life, you will sound like who you hang out with. As an adult, we have to make decisions on who creates what we sound like. I'll discuss that in a few minutes. But I want you to write down your birthday, because God don't make any junk. Regardless of what your faith is, this is not about a faith message at all, but everybody has a birthday. And everyone's the champion. You go to the maternity ward of the hospital, and every mom and dad and grandfather becomes a grandfather. They're all in tears. They're emotional about the blessing of a child. And I want to bring everybody back to your birthday. So write your birthday down. And then write down today's date, whatever date this is you're listening to this. Because I believe note takers are history makers. And when we take notes, we're activating our mind. And as a brain, as you journey your brain, as you learn, I teach something called a learning journal. Every day, your goal is to learn something new. When you're in a constant learning mode, you're in a development mode. And when you're developing, you're always improving. So two most important dates, the day you're born and today's date. And then when we conclude this interview in the next few short minutes, you will have content on that piece of paper that I believe you can implement, and then you can make history, because note takers are history makers. The more notes you take, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you develop, and ultimately, when it comes to a business perspective, the more you learn, the more you earn. It's just factual.
So well said. Well said. And I want to just take a moment to thank John, because we had a screw up on a previous attempt to do a recording. John was just so completely professional. We started recording and we were talking along, and John's just a wonderful guy to talk to. And I'm looking at my recording device and it's just something's going on. And I could see that it just plain old shut down. And what happened was, on my machine, I only had a certain amount of reservoir that was filled up with recording digits or whatever. And we just had to close it down. And John was nice enough to come back. He closed it like a professional. And, I'm just really happy to have you back, because, you do practice what you preach. No question about it.
Well, my pleasure, Chuck. It's all about changing lives. So I want you guys to write down my story. When Chuck introduced me, my background as a stutterer, and I want you guys to write my story, not from John Lemme's perspective, but as you taking ownership. We're going to discuss your story today, and I'm going to show you my story, and then we're going to dig into some other, I believe, some important secrets, some important components of how you can orchestrate and achieve your greatest results in life. I come from a very large Italian family. As a matter of fact, we're recording this, and this past weekend, my brother was down from New York with my sister-in-law, my niece and nephew that live in Manhattan. They work in Manhattan. They were at my parents' house in Boca Raton. And Italians are very loud. If any of you think of a stereotypical New York family, loud, New York, loving Italian family, that's us. All dark hair, dark eyes, under 6 feet. That's an Italian family from New York. Loud, loving, caring, the whole deal. Well, what they started to notice was, and key word is notice. I want you guys to write the word notice down. Is, people will notice things about you, and you start to notice some behavior patterns for yourself, which we call a habit. A habit is a behavior pattern, how one behaves, and that pattern gets created. So long story short, age of 4, 1969, I was born November 5th, 1965, 8:35 a.m., room 404, Lawrence Hospital, Bronxville, New York. Very specific, guys. All of you are born champions. One of my books is titled Champions Are Born and Losers Are Made. Everyone's born a champion. Loser habits are made because we make a habit, and a habit produces results. So we're going to dig into that today. And at age 4, my parents, Mary Ann and Phil Lemme, took me to the hospital, and they said, we believe that our son may have a hearing problem because he's not talking. And if you don't talk at 4 years of age, you're very quiet, people assume you have a hearing issue. And the doctor came out that was there at the hospital and put these big earmuffs on me. And every time I heard a whistling noise, I had to tap on a knock on a table like I'm knocking on my desk now in my office. I had a knock on a table. And that would signal to the doctor that I could hear fine. Well, long story short, 30 minutes in, the doctor came out and said, your son hears fine. But we believe that your son John has a speech impediment. An impediment means a block, or something is blocking the fulfillment and achievement of what one should be doing. And many times in life, and I focus on motivation plus marketing. Motive is what drives you. It's your internal expression of why you do what you do. Your marketing is what you do to generate revenue. As a corporate employee, a solopreneur, entrepreneur, running a $100 million company, running a $1 billion company, launching a business, that's your external is marketing, internal is motivation. So at that point, the doctor said, we believe your son has a speech impediment. He can speak, but he's scared to speak because every time he goes to speak, he impedes his voice. He stammers and stutters. Well, long story short, because you have a lot of people that go, well, and you've heard this, Chuck, over your years as a speaker, well, sometimes I stammer or I'm afraid of public speaking. That's not a stutter or stammer. I mean, I literally, for 14 years, I went to speech class. And for those of you that know New York State Department of Education, they give a different diploma. Where I went to Archbishop Stepinac High School. I'm an old Catholic boy from New York. I went to an all-boy Catholic high school, and I graduated straight A's. I had full scholarship to Mercy College, Pace University, Iona College. And in New York, there's another Regents diploma where the New York State Department of Regents comes in, and they will test you. Well, the way it worked in my life is they tested me in Italian class. I took 4 years of Italian, and they tested me in Italian class for the oral report. I had to say the Our Father, which is a Catholic prayer. I had to say Our Father in Italian. Mm-hmm. I could not say it. I said, "Nel nome del Padre, del Figlio, del Spirito Santo," which is the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and then I stammered on Abba, Father. And the instructor looked at me and says, "Lemme, are you with us or against us?" And at that point, I just felt like a cement block on my throat, like the veins on my ankles were pumping, and I was afraid of my own shit, and I just stammered it, and at that point I failed, and I got an F from the oral report in high school at the age of 18. Mm-hmm. Now I'll be 51 this year, and I've written 23 plus books, spoken 31 countries. I've spoken over 700 different venues. You name a company, organization, type of business, you name it. From a bagel shop for a chamber of commerce with 8 people to an arena of 15,000 people. And I've shared the stage with some of the greatest in the areas of self-development, such as the likes of Jim Rohn, God rest his soul, Dr. Dennis Waitley, Celeste Brown. Some of you may be familiar with that arena. You may not be familiar. But how does it happen? And this is what I believe our story right now is very important for all of you. Well, at age 24, I went out to a meeting, and which this right now, because of the day and age of digital media, this could be the day where you guys will meet your next level. Long story short, I was working in my family business. They have an art business and art galleries. All I knew my entire life. And I was going to college. I was the first one to get a college degree. In my family, I was called college boy. And actually, my niece, who's now 28, we just had dinner with 2 nights ago here in Florida. She's from New York. She was the second Lemme to ever get a college degree. My grandfather didn't graduate high school. My dad didn't graduate high school. My mom got a high school degree. I was the first Lemme to get college educated. My brothers never got a college degree, high school degree, and then they went and run the art business. I'm just kind of laying the foundation for all of you, because as we move into some specifics, I want you to realize that every problem is solvable with self-development. Every business problem, motivational problem, self-belief problem, self-esteem issue is solvable when we develop ourselves beyond our belief structure now. So I was bored at my career with the art business, and I said, let me take a college degree. I went to college. I graduated #2 business student. I was in Time Magazine representing our business department. I had a full scholarship to get my MBA at LIU, Long Island University. I chose not to get my MBA. I chose to go into business with my family. But I was bored at the age 24. I was 2-3 years after college. I'm like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm bored. I'm going to take this college degree that nobody has one in my family but me. Let me see what I can get corporately. Well, I answered an ad, and this is irregardless of what someone's feeling is about direct selling. I got introduced to direct selling, quote-unquote, network marketing. Never heard of it. I got introduced to it, but that night it was not about the business. It was about the area of self-development. And I got introduced to a book called Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, obviously, you've heard of it. And I never heard of those books. And I was #2 business student, 10,000 in a business college in New York, and I got a full scholarship to get a master's of business administration. Never heard of this area of developing my mind.
It's amazing.
And and that's why, as I, share my story, as I read that book that night, I'm like, wait a minute, I can develop my mind. I can learn these things. I heard about Napoleon Hill's son Blair that was born without ears, and since that night, Chuck, since I'm now as recording this, I'm 50. I'll be 51 here coming up in a few months. Since the age of 24, I've done an average of 2 to 3 hours a day of self-development, where I developed what God has given me, my mind, in my brain. And through that process, over 7 years, it took me 4 years to develop confidence. Because when you don't have confidence, you'll never do what you should do. Confidence is created and developed. We have it. We just got to redevelop it. So long story short, I started to read the books, develop myself. Every morning I was learning. I was activating my brain. I was journaling. That's why I love what you have, Brain Journal. What I learned, I was journaling. I was taking a pen or a piece of paper. I was writing. I was learning, because when you have a pen or a piece of paper, you can't think about your past. You see, your future has to be stronger and larger than your past, or else your past mistakes create future mistakes that are worse. So, long story short, once again, after 7 years, I overcame my stammering and stuttering, and I built a very successful business in direct selling. I went 4 years part-time, then I eventually left my family business. Obviously, I have great relations with my family, and I went on to do very well in direct selling, to a point to where I was free to start to teach these principles. Well, in the year 2000, I started to teach success principles to young kids who had speech problems. I would go to the speech classes and the speech pathologists and speech professionals and say, look, I'm not looking for a job. I'm a successful businessman that I overcame stammering. I would like to speak to young kids. And I like to just share my story about what I did to develop my mind. And because I went to New York School for the Deaf, I had braces for 7 years. I mean, I was a true stammerer and stutterer. And I went through so much, and nothing worked until I developed my confidence and my belief. And then, as I started to teach young kids, Chuck, they would say, this one young man said to me, he said, I just wish my parents would believe in me as much as you do. I said, your parents, interesting. And I said, let me have a conversation with your parents. And I called his parents, and I remember that. And I said, well, your son is born a champion. I said, he's got the ability to speak fluently. I said, I have an accent from New York. I speak fast. I'm not a perfect orator at all. I said, I just know that I had to build a belief in me. And he goes, well, I just don't, and the dad said, I just don't believe that my son will ever speak fluently. I said, because you don't believe it, you're blocking it. And I said, because of that blocker, that's an impediment, he will never be able to extract out of him what exists. And then in that, I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to start teaching adult success principles. So in 2000, in 2001, I went online, and I began with 6 cassette tapes. And now I've worked with 23-plus books and produced hundreds and hundreds of CDs and DVDs and home study courses for business and marketing and motivation. And I kind of wanted to share that kind of 10-minute story for all of you about, it's all about developing what's in you. So that is how your brain, you have so much capacity, but you got to make sure that every day you're doing something to develop that. You're speaking the right words. You're around the right people. You're developing what exists. That's why my company's named the Lemme Development Group, because all of you, by your birthday and by listening to this today, by those 2 dates you wrote earlier, I know the capacity to develop in you what you desire is available. We just got to activate the potential. So, Chuck, back to you on that, brother.
What an interesting and useful story. I mean, it has such practical value if you start really reconceptualizing the past and the future and thinking about those in some distinction as opposed to just being all merged into some amorphous mess. I mean, really, if we're looking at our future, there are ways to think about it. Now, take us back for a moment, because I thought it was very interesting. There was a switch back there when you had a failure, when you had a very significant insult with that reciting the mass or whatever, the prayer.
Sure.
What turned you around? What was it that happened to you? You had family support. Was there somebody there that said to you, look, here's a way you can do it? Or what actually happened? How did that transpire?
Phenomenal question. I always say the intensity and power of a question shows a man's mind. So that's a great question, Chuck. It's an awesome question. That through speech class, I went to speech class in St. James. I went to grammar school in St. James and stepped into high school. I went to speech class through grammar school and high school. And then my parents hired an independent tutor, Mrs. Panko. She was a reading teacher, and I would go to reading class every day. And it was Mrs. Panko, so I'd always look at my mom, because everyone labeled me. You know, I have a whole teaching called The Label is a Liar. Take the label off and replace it. Yeah. Everybody labeled me. Stutterer, smart kid, great family, you know, hard worker, you know, nice family, ethical family, full of integrity, typical, small business American, hard worker, retail story, the typical, family in an upstate, in northeast of America, this family-based business, retail, working hard. They labeled me. He'll just be there the rest of his life. Mrs. Pankos would say to my mom every day, I see something in your son. I see something in his eyes. God has given him a gift. There's something in him. It's just a matter of time before. I remember those words of encouragement and the words of ability from my reading teacher. And I remember in 12th grade, at that point, I'm a teenager. I'm a teenage guy. We all know teenage guys. We think we know everything, and we're obviously it's just guys and teenage. We're maniacs when it comes to football, hockey, lacrosse, and we're just warriors. We all know that as guys. And I'm like, something's in me saying, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. When I do, I ain't shutting up, because there's no reason why I can't speak. This is driving me crazy. What is it? And I was on a journey. I was in a search. And when I read that book, That was the aha moment when I answered an ad to find a job, and through that ad, I went out to the Wrighttown Hilton, March 15th, 1990 at 7:35. I had my original planner. I showed it at all my seminars. That was the day, that was the evening that I got introduced, but I had to step out in faith. I had to do something. I had to implement. And it was a driving force where I knew I could speak, and it was weighing on my mind every day. And, you know, I always talk about whatever you're worrying about, and I'm worried about this. Whatever you're worried about, engage someone, hire someone, get around someone who's conquered that. Because if you're worried about something, someone else has already overcome that, and they can give you the secret methods and strategies. That's why I believe in mentorship, and I believe someone should guide you. But I believe a real mentor should torment you. You know, the word mastermind is, you know, as you know, you've interviewed many people and you're involved in the success world. There's a lot of so-called. I've been a coach before everybody's a coach. I mean, you can get a coaching certificate for $1,000 online. I mean, I believe you should be successful before you teach success principles. Just the way I stand on that.
That's a
I rant
principle.
about.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I should be successful to teach success. And you know, when I started to look at this, and I started to read the books, and I started to develop. I'm like, this is what it's all about. This is. I was worried about speaking everywhere I went in my life. I was worried about, and way back when I would actually not run some credit cards to my family, and I take the money in my own pockets. I couldn't say you had to call in for the CCA, the credit card authorization, and I couldn't say discover because D is a hard letter. You know, with language, there's soft letters like Chuck. Is a hard letter versus a C is a soft letter. D is a hard letter, and that's when I had a space in my teeth. I still have it now, where they had braces for 7 years, thinking if they separated my teeth, I'd speak better. And there was a point in time where someone said to me, and I'm believing we could be the voice for that person, Chuck, to say, you know what, we believe in you. We believe you're born a champion. Whatever you want to do in life's possible, but you got to develop yourself. You know, that's why I talk about the word development. So that was what it was. It was a reading teacher who spoke life into me. And I say this humbly, you know, as a professional business consultant, and I mentor we're talking about doctors, I mentor chief medical officers, chiropractors, nutritionists, acupuncturists, dentists, some amazing doctors, and then some incredible entrepreneurs that run $100+ million companies. And I can tell you that I've become very friendly with my top clients. Especially have to call them clients, but they're really friends of ours now. We've got great relationships with our clients long term. They will all tell you. I mean, my number one client he runs a multi-million-dollar construction company, has done millions and millions of dollars. First thing he heard me say is, God don't make me junk. And he wasn't a very godly man. He just says, you know what, I've always felt like junky about myself. And you're right. God didn't make junk with me. Mm-hmm. And that was a word that spoke over his life that got her to pay attention. Then this is where a lot of people, Chuck, will disconnect from their potential. Any other, you want to pull in that, what I've shared in response to that question?
Well, yeah, I think the thing is, it's so true. I mean, as a practicing psychiatrist, we see this all the time. You know, the person is limited by their internal belief system about themselves. And the previous question I was asking you was really interesting. I was thinking more about what happened. You had two important underpinnings to sort of metaphorically kick you out the door. One was Napoleon Hill, which gave you a content. He really said, this is how you can do it. And your language speech instructor, who gave you the emotional tone, that she saw that reality in you that really helped you change your belief system, because you had somebody that saw what you hoped you had, but you didn't know you had it. And she said, you really do have it. And then you had an emotional push as well as a clear content path that you could follow.
And that's the key. And I believe that most people have access to that, but fear is a blinder. They live in worry so much that they don't activate and see what's there. And that's why when I began teaching success back in the year 2000, and I actually was last night when I was on Facebook doing a Facebook Live, I had somebody that saw me speak 16 years ago, and He goes, I still have your cassettes. I remember I began with 6 cassette tapes for $29, way back when, cassette tapes. Then when it came out with a CD, I was like, man, God is coming, baby. CDs, I can get all that on a little disc. It's pretty awesome. And when I had to name my company, I said, what am I going to name my company? I said, development. Because you look at a developer, all of you, wherever you're living in this beautiful country around the world, also you're going to be driving somewhere one day and go, man, that's a new building. That's a new development. Where'd that come from? Well, it came from one day, somebody who was a visionary. I want you guys to write this down in the first person. I'm a visionary. Affirm, declare who you are. I'm a visionary. Take the affirmation up. I'm a visionary. And affirm your future. And make a decision today you're going to develop your future. But a real estate developer does 3 specific things. They have a blueprint for the finished product long term. They have a team of people around them that have a track record of successful developing. And they also realize that 80% of a real estate structure is done behind the scenes. They have to go down and demolish first and renovate the foundation and remove anything that could affect the structure long term. That's why as we go through development, as you know, as a psychologist and as you're sitting with people, you're going through a lot of stuff that they have to release and remove and stop conversing about the same way. We have to move through it. So I believe everyone listening today, 1,000%, can be developed into the achievement of their goals and dreams. And the word achievement means to gain by effort. That's why we talked about self-help versus self-development. So I believe self-help is good. I'm a positive thinker. I think good of people. I'm a nice person. Well, there's a lot of nice people doing the right thing with a great product who are broke. I mean, if that was the equation for success, you'd be successful. You got to develop. Now, development means you're going to hit some blockers. You're going to go, whoa, I didn't know that there was that rock below the ground. We're going to develop that. Oh, you're still associating with this negative person. You're doing this business. You're reading the right books. You're coming out to the right events, and you say you're doing the right thing, but you're still in a relationship with someone who doesn't believe what you're doing. Well, we got to get rid of that blocker. We got to dig down deep and remove those blockers. So development means for all of you, because regardless of what your faith is, that birthday, everyone celebrates a birthday. Everyone once a year celebrates a birthday. God makes champions. And because you're listening to self-development, I believe what you do is you introduce people that can give the people a little bit of development. So whatever your goals and dreams are long term, you can develop yourself. And it's a combination of motivation and marketing. Because marketing, remember, in business, because I'm sure there's many business owners and entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, correct? Interview, right, Chuck?
Yes, absolutely. Because we have actually, I think you have the business people, but you've also got the parents who are actually running the show. So that's yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome. Because whatever you're marketing, guys, your number one product is confidence. People are buying confidence. You look at Amazon, and I'm just going to go marketing here for a few minutes. Everyone went on to Amazon because they were dissatisfied and frustrated. I've written 23 books, and 12 of them are about marketing. And I talk about these words, dissatisfied and frustrated. When someone's dissatisfied or frustrated with a service, they will search someone out. That's Google. 90% of searches on Google are for products. And if you don't have loyalty to a current business, you will go on Google and search for someone, and then you're going to check the reviews out, and most of the time you'd be led back to Amazon. Well, Amazon began their business, and I remember way back when, my dad is 86 now, I remember way back when my dad wouldn't give a credit card over the phone because he was thinking, someone's going to steal the card, they're going to take my card. I'm like, they're not going to take your card. My dad now comes out to my events, and I have an event coming up this weekend, one of my mastermind events for my mastermind club, and my dad's an Amazon fanatic. He's 86, and he goes to Amazon first to buy everything. He's literally getting a shipment almost every day to Amazon, from his house to Amazon. Now, Amazon, we all have confidence in Amazon. No matter what, This is very important, guys. Catching up is not the way. Right now, Walmart is trying to catch up to Amazon. Not going to happen. They're spending $3 billion on their e-commerce. No one will go to Walmart.com versus Amazon because we have confidence in Amazon. Well, that confidence was developed, and for many years, Amazon didn't make any money because they were developing a long-term relationship building process with their clientele. Like you see, because you went back and forth with my wife in the beginning, setting up all the interviews, and you can see my wife's title is Director of Long-Term Client Loyalty. is we focus on building loyalty to our clients, because loyalty is developed, but confidence is what people buy. Think about all of you that do business with a local business. A local business could be a dry cleaner, a restaurant, a jeweler, a computer company. You have confidence that they will solve the problem. But you, as a marketer, have to project your internal confidence. And that's why most businesses will never get to the next level, because they limit the potential of the size of their client because of limiting beliefs in their mind. So that's why I combine motivation plus marketing. So when your motives are right and you develop the right way and you're confident, you love people. But to love people, you know this as what you do as a professional. In order for you to love people, you have to love yourself first. You can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. So you have to love your client to love yourself. And that's all confidence-based.
Well, the way you love yourself is because you actually see the self-mastery come from what you have handled. If you've handled it, you're going to be opinionated, because what happens, the way people become opinionated is they don't get it right. What happens is you don't get opinionated by getting it right or somebody patting you on the back. You get opinionated when you get it wrong, because after you got it wrong repeatedly and you find the answer, then you're seriously doggone opinionated. Before we go too much further, I want to make sure to drop this little key at corebrainjournal.com/060 download. A lot of these very interesting points are coming in a PDF. 7 Principles to Live a Champion Life. This is where John really talks about the concept of champion and what we're talking about. So, and I love what you were saying about confidence. I think it's really very important, because if you are opinionated, it's because you didn't get it right. It's just like you, John. You had some problems. How did you get opinionated? You mastered the problems. When you master the problems, you develop self-esteem. If you don't go out and master the problems, you're going to stay in the same old place, no question about it.
And that's what problems master you. I mean, problems will master people, and in life they're in the same mess. I always talk about, you look at people in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, nothing changes. And I teach the 1 mile per hour process. I mean, I talk about that in the 7 Principles to Live a Champion Life book. I talk about emotions versus feelings. Sometimes we're going to get our feelings hurt when someone may give us a direction or an instruction how to get to the next level. But we got to be emotionally connected to, as I talk about, all why. Why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. And it's so important that a lot of people will try to prove a point to be right, and that's ego-based. I know last time we had a little mini interview before we had a little technology challenge to talk about ego, and ego is when someone tries to defend a situation to prove a point, and ultimately nothing changes, and they will, from a marketing perspective, they become a sports authority, or Radio Shack, or CompUSA, a circuit. They go out of business. While someone like an Amazon and someone who's completely open to serving a client, they will build a very, very successful business. And that's why for all of you, and I do have to share all of you guys, all of you deserve to be very successful. You deserve a life of being anxiety-free, worry-free, and stress-free life. And you're like, oh, John, you don't know my situation. Before you speak them into existence, be transparent, be truthful, identify what today's date is, as we wrote down, we began the interview earlier. Where you are today is a result of yesterday's decisions. Yesterday's decisions brought on today's results. And I want you guys to write an equation down. And I talk about this in the 7 Principles book. Decision plus action equals results. In other words, whatever decision you make today, every decision you make is an action. When you make a decision, that's internal. You make a decision, and then you take action. And then an action produces results. And in the beginning, some faithful action, some unique action, some different action you've never done before. People will look at you and go, man, what are you doing, John? What are you doing, Chuck? I've never seen you do that before. Well, let me share with you. This is where I'm going. These are my goals. These are my dreams. And I'm personally sick and tired of being where I'm at. So I'm making new decisions today, which means I'm taking new action, which means I'm producing new results. And that's why the Olympics, they train for 4 years, and it came down to a split second. And for Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian today, and you guys will see when you read my book, the foreword is written by Nikki Stone, who's a great friend of mine, and she was the first female ski aerialist, which means she did 3 flips in the air in 1990. She won a gold medal. 2 years before that, and I talk about this in the book, she broke her back, and they said she would never ski again. There was one doctor And one physical therapist just said, Nikki, I believe we can get you back on skis. It's all she had. It's all she grabbed onto their belief. And she tells a story out of 40,000 people when she was in Nagano, Japan, and she was going for the gold medal. She was focused. Out of 40,000 people, she heard one voice, and it's called reach, and they practiced tens of thousands of times. When her coach would say reach, she would then open up her arms and spin around and just plant it. And because of tens of thousands of training and the mentorship from her coach, she won a gold medal and just transformed her life. I mean, and she's now just a great friend of mine, and she's just a phenomenal champion person to be around, and it's the whole Olympic athlete mindset. I believe, we try to rush things in life. There's no app to development. You can't make money quick. You can't conquer something quick. It's a 1 mile per hour process. It's making a decision, taking action, and creating results. And create some huge results, guys. Don't allow your limiting beliefs to affect your potential. Everybody has potential. It's a question I'm always asked all the time, Chuck, I'm humbled by the success that we've created to our community. I look at everybody and I see the greatest years of your life are ahead for you. Something else you guys can write down is my greatest years of my life are ahead for me. And when you write that down, you realize are ahead for me, meaning what are you looking ahead for? What are you looking to do in your life? And write it down, physically, emotionally, financially. I believe in a holistic approach to success. I believe physically get in the best shape of your life, emotionally in the best shape of your life, and your finances obey your emotions. Your finances obey your relationships. So that's kind of where I stand with that growth process. And I do every day now. I just did, literally before our interview, I just finished 3 hours of self-development. Literally for 3 hours. See, when you're too busy to develop yourself, you will miss your opportunity. Opportunities are bountiful and are everywhere.
Well, John,
but if you don't develop yourself,
you sound like you're so pumped. I mean, what were you doing for those 3 hours? Did you run a marathon? What did you do?
Well, I'm very into exercise. I'll be based upon when you're listening. I'm 50 now. Depends when this is posted. I'll probably be 51 by that time. Mm-hmm. I'm 51. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm into I work out. I'm into rowing. I've done over. I'll be close to 2 million meters rowed in the Concept 2 rower. I do 100 push-ups per day. And for those of you that may know yoga, I do 25 or 35 stomach vacuums a day. I drink a gallon of water a day. I'm a whole food plant-based athlete, meaning I eat whole foods, and I drink a gallon of water a day. And I believe when you're physically, I'm 51, prescription-free, greatest shape of my life, and I have more energy than guys that are, 20 years of age. And so when I'm doing my workouts, I'm listening to self-development. I'm actually listening to, I have all my books in audio books, so I'll listen to some of my audio books. And then I will take some great books and dig into them. And I'll go back to many of my seminars I do, and I'll reread my notes, and because every day I'm looking to create an idea. I'm looking to get creative. See, creativity and being innovative is the secret to success, physically, emotionally, financially. When you look at a marketing perspective, get Chuck.
No, you said it. I mean, I think that word decision is important because a decision will help you change your reality. But you said a key additional word there, and that's unique decision. That's where the creativity comes in, because you just can't keep doing it the same way if you're looking around and seeing what didn't work before. And you are a unique person, and if you have a unique idea coming from that unique person, you're going to be more satisfied with it anyway. Even if it doesn't work, you're going to learn from it, as opposed to sitting on your hands and it just doesn't happen.
That's right. That's right. And that's why. So, I always tell people, when you look at a building, if you want to build a 70, 100-story skyscraper, you got to build a deep foundation.
Yes.
If you want to have a 2-story townhouse, I say, God bless my wife and I, we have numerous pieces of real estate, and I have some corporate condos. Like I'm doing an event this weekend, and Angie, one of my top clients, will be coming in from North Carolina, and she'll be staying in one of our condos. It's just a 4-story condo, and it's on the 4th floor of this condo. So the foundations, it supports that structure, especially since we're in South Florida, so it was built after Hurricane Andrew, so it's hurricane-proof. But if we were going to develop something, here we go. Guys, hello. We're going to develop something. I'm going to say, you know what? We want to develop a 40-story condo development. Okay. Well, that's going to take another 2 more years of going down deep. Uh-huh. That's what development means. Like unique. unique, different, above and beyond decisions, something different. I also teach from the Ritz-Carlton. I just came back from a Ritz-Carlton mastermind event. We were a doctor. It's interesting. I give away a 2-night, 3-day mastermind weekend with my wife and I, and Dr. Sandra won that weekend with her husband, Matt, who's an accountant, and she's a doctor of Oriental medicine, an acupuncturist, and a yoga specialist. And we just literally, I'm doing this interview, we just returned from the Ritz yesterday. And I teach in the Ritz-Carlton because the Ritz-Carlton is a hotel. It's known for extreme customer service. It has windows, it has a pool, it has a bathroom. But what it has is an atmosphere and a culture of consistent improvement, of going above and beyond a guest expectations, of actively listening, of being aware of being aware and realize that the guest experience is what drives the revenue. Now, if you don't want to do something unique and different, you're never going to create record-breaking results, which all of you have access to that. I mean, the potential is there. You would not be listening to this for this long or listening to other interviews that Chuck's put together if you're not looking and have a desire to get to the next level. But be very careful of who you bring an idea to. If you bring an idea to someone who's negative, and a negative sign is a subtraction sign. See, I always talk about people. People are like elevators. When you get around them, they're either going to add to your life or subtract from your life. It's the bottom line. And you got to make sure that everyone around you is a plus sign. You're around them, you're more encouraged, you're more empowered, you believe a little more. They challenge you. They challenge you to go to the next level. That's why the word mastermind is the most overused word in the world. Everybody has a mastermind group. Well, if everyone in a mastermind group is gaining weight, physically shot, emotionally shot, and their businesses are flatlining, that ain't working. It's not working.
I can see the picture now.
I mean, it's not working.
Yeah.
Oh, positive thinker. I'm into self-help. I read 9,000 books. Well, that's great. But like Bruce Lee says, I fear the man that studied one move 10,000 times. And I believe this day and age, people that are into self-help, they're proud to say, I've read 20,000 books. Yeah, but you've done nothing because it's too much stuff. Yeah. You know, get one thing that challenges you, study it, make it unique, and be disciplined and determined and dedicated. And you guys, when you guys read the free download that we gave to all the Chuck's listeners, I talk about dedication. I talk about the word obvious. Obvious is defined as easily seen. There's no explanation for something when it's easily seen. We have to really be obvious to ourselves and say, you know what? It's time to realize I have to make new decisions. And because it's obvious right now that I'm not on track to achieve my goals, I wake up worried. I wake up running late. I wake up rushing. I have 64 smartphones with all the different apps, and I still forget stuff, and I'm rushing late. I'm rushing and I'm late, and that's never going to be productive. And it's so important for all of you to realize that the potential is there for you. We just have to remove any negativity, and we have to replace it with some unique, different decisions that will create some controversy around people who are not willing to go to the next level. That's one thing you'll see all through my book. I talk about removing relationships out of your life because, you know, who you're around, that's who you become. I call it the circle of 5.
You know, I'm just going to mention one more thing. I'm so much enjoying listening to you, and I did happen to look at the time. This time is zooming by. It's so much fun talking to you, but the word master got me stuck a little bit, and then we went down exactly the same road that the whole master concept. And I just want to bring up this Eastern phrase that, martial arts, you mentioned, Bruce Lee.
Sure.
And, the old statement is, when the student is ready, the master appears. And I've changed that. And I changed it a long time ago in the first book I wrote back in 1996. And that was, when the student is ready, the lesson appears. So it's
right.
It's an
very good.
Internal,
like that.
It's an internal reaction to the pain that you're experiencing. And either you're going to take the lesson from the pain, or you're going to ignore it and stay in the pain. It's as simple as that.
Guys, look, Chuck's interviewing me, but I'm going to interview Chuck again. Guys, Chuck, say it again. Guys, write that down, circle that, because that is something that, say it again, Chuck, that's powerful. You could learn.
When the student is ready, it's not when the student is ready, the master appears. That's looking for somebody to tell you what to do. That puts either a cognitive or emotional dependency on some other person to give you the message. But if you really dig deep down to that foundation that John is talking about, you get down to when the student is ready. When you're ready to make that unique change, When the student is ready, the lesson appears in your face, and it comes it comes as a painful event. It doesn't come as a pat on the back. The lesson comes from the pain, and then what you do is integrate what you're going to do about that pain and change your life. If you do that, you move on down the road. If you don't, the pain comes back and revisits you for the rest of your doggone life. It's as simple as that.
And the pain will manifest more, and then it's like I talk about in the Seven Principles book. I'd rather live with the temporary pain of change than the lifelong pain of regret.
Well said. Beautiful. Well said. Put that one in a big parentheses, quotation marks, whatever. That needs to be bold right there.
Because there's going to be a temporary pain of change, doing something a little bit different. But you don't want to look back, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now and be in the same situation, because that's weighing on your mind. See, for getting back to kind of recap my story, for 14 years of my life, I went to speech class. I'm like, why can't I speak? And I'd always say to my mom, why can't I speak? And my mom would always love me and believe in me and say, well, sometimes God will put you through some stuff. And now I know that that's just Mom's loving way of saying, just protecting me. And that's why, what we do, what you do, Chuck, and what I do, it's like, you look at an eagle. I talk a lot about eagles. You guys will hear me talk about eagle in the Seven Principles book. It's an incredible animal. And eventually the mother eagle's got to kick the eagle out of the nest and realize your wings are ready to soar. Use them. You got to go. And that's going to take, and then whatever's weighing on your mind, you have an opportunity where you could step out in faith and apply some new action, some unique action, some different action.
Mm-hmm. Unique decision.
And that creates unique results. I mean that's the exciting part about the process. But it's very important, because I believe someone listening to this today. That's why you want to make sure you're around mentorship. Somebody who will keep you accountable. Not someone who will, you're going to do that. Let's think about the pros and cons. Well, let's really be realistic. If you don't make the change, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I always said, let's be truthful. Let's go with what if. What if you remain the same? What if you continually gaining 5-10 pounds a year? What if you remain in that? Well, I always love people go, I believe things in moderation. Well, if you have a drinking problem and you drink moderately, you're going to become an alcoholic. You're going to have a problem. Cut it off. Moderation is an excuse for not making change. Again, I know you're a psychologist, but I'm dropping one in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
no, totally. That's what.
That's right.
I mean, that particular example is just self-medication. I mean, it's a way of staying away from reality instead of dealing with it. So if you're going to do
for those of you that
face it, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. It's right. For those of you that are listening to the interview and you download the book, you'll see on page 73, I talk about dreaming big, and I want you to come up with 21 dreams to reach for and achieve in the next 5 years. I talk about why. Not only because of the things you will acquire, but most importantly, it's very important, guys, because of the person you will become in the process. You become something. It's like, I love to eat, and we always make a joke. Everyone's like, John, you're in great shape. I eat tons of food. My wife is a great cook, and I have this food board in our home. When I eat food that's phenomenal, I put it up in a food board. And when in doubt, my wife can look at the food board and go, I don't know what to make tonight. Well, look at the food board, and we make a joke about it. And there's ingredients behind those meals. A great chef has ingredients, and in the process, they keep fine-tuning the ingredients to have a guest sit down there and enjoy the meal. Well, in life, we're going to go through the process. You're going to identify some ingredients that when you put them together will create some incredible dreams. Then you have your dreams in front of you and say, this is one key final point for today, is take a look at and say, is the action I'm taking right now a key ingredient for the achievement and development of my dreams? Or is it just another useless action that's producing bad results? That's where we have to be truthful. It's so important to realize that every action we take has a result. But if you don't have your blueprint, if you don't know where you're going in 5 years or 10 years, you're going to get so busy. I have another chapter of my book, not the specific book, another one. I talk about the top 10 worst words people use, and one is busy. Well, I'm so busy. They're so busy that they forget about their potential. They're so busy that they forget that everything adds up. So it's so important that it's just realize, guys, you're born a champion. Take new action. Remain around Chuck. Chuck's got some great interviews, and he's investing his time to change lives. And I believe every life's important. I mean, who would have knew that some young stuttering kid from Yonkers, New York, with a deep New York accent, and I say this humbly, I've been on CNBC. I've been featured my quote on persistence. You know, you guys can, there's only about 20 million quotes on persistence. Well, Inc. magazine 2 years ago researched and pulled the top 50 quotes on persistence. And I was blessed to be chosen to be one of the quotes. And I want to read that quote, which is, the key of persistence will open up any door closed by resistance. See, you've been resisting your potential. And I'll restate it again. The key of persistence. Now, a key is very small. You could have a home that's 10,000 square feet or a home that's 600 square feet. But a key is the same size. There isn't a bigger door on a mansion. It's a key. And the most valuable key is the key of persistence. The key of persistence will open up any door closed by resistance. You look at the Ritz-Carlton. They almost went out of business many years ago, but they were persistent to create the culture of high-end, extreme customer service. And look at the profit. Look at Amazon. Look at Starbucks. Howard Schultz was persistent to offer coffee for $8 a cup when it was 50 cents a cup when they started in the competition, quote unquote. So we got to be persistent, guys. You got to be persistent. You realize that you make a decision today, but don't quit when it gets tough. Don't quit when it gets different or unique. Get around the right people who see your uniqueness and also want to go to the next level. So important.
John, that is such a great metaphor with the key. I think the picture there is so vivid and so real because it's really all about finding that element within yourself that will change your life. And it's probably multiple elements as we go along because life continues to provide a variety of different challenges and diversities. But the key is actually taking the action and learning from that process. John, thank you so much for being a guest with us. It's been it's been way beyond informative. There are folks out there you have really helped today in terms of, I've got to think differently about what I'm doing. I've got to get on this thing as opposed to whatever, twiddling my thumbs, passing time, and missing the big picture. So I'll close with thanking. Let's let them in on where your best website is. Pardon, I couldn't get it out. I'm sitting here looking for it while I'm talking to you. And tell us where that is. We're going to have it in the show notes anyway, but how can we get in touch with you if we need to?
Sure. This is a little bit of a, I specialize in motivation and marketing. It's a little marketing tip for those of you that would do events or you're a speaker or you're presenting. You guys, I operate numerous websites, but you guys who want to find me, you guys can go to www.findjohnd.com. Findjohnd.com. So you can find me at FINDJOHND.com. Findjohnd.com. And that will then go out to my main website, and you'll see where I give away 7 of my top marketing and motivational teachings on how to conquer fear and earn your financial freedom. So I give you guys a bunch of bonuses, and I look forward to hearing the lives that have been impacted today. I believe today was a turning point for lives.
Well, it was a live event in a sense, because no matter how long this one lasts, it's not going to die. It's a very, very useful set of tools you've given us, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Speaking for our listeners, thank you so much for coming on, John.
Thank you, Chuck. You're awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks to your team for getting everything set up.
You have a good day, man. Thanks for listening to Core Brain Journal. We're working every day behind the scenes to bring you reports that connect research benches with those street trenches. Here we share the complexity of mind science because, as you know, details really do matter. One of the most pervasive, misunderstood challenges is how commonplace medications, like those written for ADHD, are used so regularly without clear guidelines. If you think you'd like more specifics, take a minute to download my 2-page PDF packed with video links and references on the absolute essentials of how to start ADHD medications. They're easily available at corebrainjournal.com/start. Thanks for listening. Do connect and stay tuned. Together we can make a difference.